Alright, we're back with the Z right now, and we have some shit to do to it to get it good for a track that I have coming up. So I'm just gonna do like oil change and gear oil, I guess. It's like I said in the previous video, it's a brand new transmission, but it has about 4,000 miles on it, maybe. Honestly, I don't know exactly how many miles it has, but it's got some mileage on it now. I got it, left the fluid that was in it, then I realized you're not supposed to drive on that, so I swapped it out immediately to OEM gear oil, and I guess I'm kind of using that as the break-in fluid. The transit's starting to feel a little notchy, and it's just not going into gear as nice, so I decided to just go ahead and purchase some new MT90. This is a bottle I had before, but GL4 is what you're going to need for these cars because the brass synchros. So I have more bottles than I need of that because more doesn't hurt. I'll go ahead and put that in today, and then for the oil, it's just some 530. This car takes about 8 quarts with the oil pen spacer and the cooler, so I have enough for that. One of these isn't full, and the other two are just because I get them in deals with filters, so that's that. As for the car, we have some mods too that I've done, but I will go over that when it's up in the air so I can kind of show everything. You can already get a glimpse of one of the mods I have. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just talk about this thing today.
Babe, can I call you later? I want to work on my car and I don't have my AirPods. It might be a junkyard type day. I can't even bleed my clutch. Keep jacking up my car. Like, asking us going to the junkyard for him. Man does like literally nothing.
One thing I always do when I change the oil on this car is I unplug the fuel pump fuse. That way I can just let the engine crank over so it'll build oil pressure without actually starting. It's really not necessary, but it's just like a peace of mind thing. If you can do it, why not? So I'm gonna go and pop all this stuff off because it's located in the fuse box that's back here. So you gotta take off the battery like shroud thing and then the top cowl, and then you can access that fuse down there. You just pop off the cover of this fuse box right here. The diagram's on top, but the fuel pump is gonna be this 15 amp all the way at the bottom. Easiest to just grab some pliers, stick them in there, and yank it out just like that. Now when you go to start the car, you can listen to hear if the fuel pump's priming or not. Usually when you start it, you hear like a bzzz, and that's usually the fuel pump running. So we'll go ahead and Get the keys. Go ahead and sit in the car. This shouldn't have any noise right now when I go to start it. So yeah, the fuel pump is off, which means the car will not start right now. So it does have oil in it. Oil's pretty good. I'm just gonna go ahead and run it until that oil pressure jumps up. It might start for a bit because there's still fuel in the injectors, but so you see now it just built up oil pressure. It rose a bit. My battery's pretty low, so we're gonna hope it's not dead. If it is, I have a whole nother car to jump in, so it's not a big deal. But now I will check the level again now that oil has run through the filter and the cooler and everything in the engine. Make sure the oil level's good, and then I'll start it for real, let it run, do its thing, let it warm up a bit, and the oil change should be solid. Alright, oil level's a little difficult to read on VQs just because they drain through the dipstick hole, but this is pretty good. It's easy to tell from the back. You can see there's the line, and there is full. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this back in, let it actually start up, and let it do its thing. To put the fuse back in, you literally just grab it, and you're just gonna push it in with your fingers. It shouldn't be difficult. Just push it right in like that. Now we can go back into the car and hope my battery isn't dead. Before I put any of that stuff in, we're gonna start it, just make sure it starts and everything. Starts right up, immediately has oil pressure. Oil pressure's good. Oil temp is reading. So we're good over here. I'm gonna go ahead and let it run and just warm up, I guess, and yeah. Alright, so I'm back on my camera now. My battery was just dead, so I had to use my phone briefly, but now we're going to go ahead and do the gear oil. All you need for the gear oil is just a 10 mil Allen socket, and then you need a fluid pump from Fluid. You could buy these on Amazon. I bought it long ago when I had the Maxima, and I still obviously have it. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and drain the fluid in it. Ideally, I like to catch it in a pan that you could sift through just to see if there's any shavings or anything. Because it's a trans, for some reason transmissions and diffs, they always seem to have a bit of shavings in them. It's just the nature of them, I guess. If it's not too much or there's no big chunks, it's not super alarming, but it's just something I want to kind of regulate and look at. But it's whatever. We'll just go ahead and drain into this, no biggie. We can go ahead and take this out. Oh, also the oil didn't need to be done. I just did it. I've driven about 2,000 miles on it, but because it goes through so many heat cycles and because I have a track day coming up soon, I'd rather just get it changed instead of have a problem with it. And oil's cheap, it's like 40 bucks, so it's easy to just go ahead and do it to ensure that my car's gonna last and be solid. So it's gonna be a little hard to fit the camera under here, but down here you can see we got our brand new trans, and I always crack the fill plug first just to make sure you can actually refill it, because the last thing you want is to drain your whole trans and then you can't refill it and you're just left with an empty trans. So we'll go ahead and stick that in there. It's gonna be a 10 mil Allen, like I've said, and they're usually pretty tight. Ah, damn. There you go. So now we know that's loose, and then we could break the drain with no problems now. Oh my god, hold up. Put the camera down real quick. There we go. Alright, so now the drain is loose and the fill is loose. So we're good. Another thing I changed down here that I didn't talk about is the Y-pipe. My old one was a Megan Y-pipe, and the flexes started to break, and they leaked really bad. So I picked this one up, used. And this one is a custom Y-pipe with a Wicked Flow connector, I guess. And it's 3 inches all the way back. Interesting. I didn't think it was going to seal right, because when I was looked at it, it was all crooked, but it actually bolted up fine and seals great. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, we'll go ahead and drain the grill right now and get this thing finished. I don't know what I expected exactly, but the trans fluid was actually really clean, so I'm pretty hyped about that. We'll go ahead and pull the drain plug out now because it's supposed to have a magnet on it, so it should catch any shavings that there are. We'll go ahead and pull it out real quick. this is the moment of truth. And it's clean, so I'm super happy about that. It's a brand new trans. I didn't expect any less, but it's always kind of scary when you spend so much money on something and you don't know exactly if it's perfect or not. But I am very happy about this. I'm definitely hyped to have a new fluid in it.
Don't anymore for my car. Get off. Oh, you should have used my gun. I'm trying to see if my gun could do the work for you.
Alright, so one of the biggest things I changed about the car was the wheels and tires. I was on the Enkai PFO1s and Pilot Sport 4Ss for quite a while, and they served me great, but in the front end, I guess my ball joints weren't fully torqued, so they ended up wearing in the inside really bad, and I just took it as a sign to finally get these new wheels that I've had on. I bought a set of Chrome TEs a while ago for really cheap because they had cracks. I got the cracks fixed and then put tires on them, and they fit really good and they looked sick, but they didn't hold air because the rear wheels still were kind of fucked up. So I ended up getting these in a trade, straight trade. These are Advan TC3s. They're 18, 10.5 plus 15. They are the perfect spec. They're squared, all of them are the same size. They're not cracked or bent or any of that. They are mint. Holy shit, that brake dust is crazy. Yeah, they're mint and they're super clean, and these are the wheels I've always wanted. Even before I had the Z, I knew that like TC4s and TC3s and Advan GTs were like the best wheel. I love these wheels so much, so like why not take them if they come up in a chance. And yeah, straight trade. As for tires, I have Kumo V730s on them. They're a 200 tread wear, I guess slick. They're a 275 35 18 all around. I wanted to go square. I prefer to go 285, but sadly most tire companies don't make a 285 35. They make 285 40s, which is too big. I was cross shopping these tires with RT615K pluses and RT660s. I didn't want to get 660s because they are really expensive. Like for a full set of those tires, it'd be about $1,400 for my car. These were $900, and then the 615s would be about like $1,100, I think. And I really just didn't want to sacrifice width because I heard these ran thin. So I looked at measurements on them. The section width and the actual tread width is the same as a 615. So I'm not losing any there, and they're $100 cheaper, and apparently they last as long or longer. I got them heat cycled with tire rack, and yeah, so far I'm really liking them. They look really aggressive and they do grip really well. I noticed right away as soon as I threw them on the car the amount of grip the front end had and just how balanced the car feels. You can see in my most recent video the driving on these. It's kind of like the shakedown day, the first day I ever actually drove them, and so far I have no complaints about them. They're really good. I just hope they last a while because I'm not really excited to have to buy new tires all the time. But yeah, there's the new wheels for you. Alright, in terms of the front end of this car, or just the whole car in general, I finally got off the EBC Blues. They're garbage. I hated them. I'm now on Hawk DTC 70s inside of there with some EBC slotted rotors. I found these at a junkyard. They were pretty much new, so I went ahead and bought them. And then the pads, I just kind of want to try out a Hawk pad. Like I said, the CSG pads I tried, the Counter Space Garage pads, I loved. They were just double the price of the Hawks. And if you know the price of the Hawks, you know, it's kind of ridiculous for pads. And I ended up getting a set actually because someone was selling a set pretty much new for $300, so I bought those. But for now I'm still running the Hawks. I am liking them. They stop really hard. They're a little weird to get used to because they're not super linear. They kind of come on like right away, so they're interesting to get used to, but they do stop really hard. The rotors are actually kind of cracking, which is not the best, but I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the only other difference since the last video was just the brake pads. Now I'm on Hawk pads, like I said, and new rotors. The rear is still a Stop Tech rotors because the rear doesn't really wear down like that. And I'm also on DTC 70s in the rear. If I could do it again, I'd probably go with a weaker pad in the rear because the rear tends to lock. So I would do like a DTC 60 and a DTC 70 in the front, or some sort of mix like that. But I wouldn't do DTC 70s front and rear like I did this time. But you know, more you know. Basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to bolt check everything, torque everything down. I'm sure everything is tight, but there's just a lot of spherical stuff up here, like the tie rod ends and all the bushings down there, and the upper control arms, which I am going to adjust. I'm going to max out the caster, so that way when I turn the car it has more camber and just self-centers and kind of drives it a little different. I just want to try it out because people run the max caster on these, and because they're the SPL arms, they are adjustable for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully sometime this week I'll be able to throw my car in the alignment rack I can do toe and caster really easily, but I can't measure camber because I don't have the gauges for it. So I know the front is about -3 degrees, but the rear, I kind of just eyeball it to the front, and I want to get it solid because these tires don't really wear to the edge like that, just because they're far stiffer than the Pilot Sports. The Pilot Sports wore really well, but these tires, since they're stiffer, they just don't do it. So, yeah, hopefully I can get this thing on a rack, but I'm going to max out the caster right now. Alright, so this side is pretty much adjusted now. Upper control arms are back in and tight. This is the SPL V3 upper control arm. These are not like the V4s, if you guys are familiar with these at all. The V4s are a solid full billet one-piece thing with 2 adjusters. Honestly, I like these ones more because they're more easily adjustable on the fly. They still have really nice ends and a nice spherical upper ball joint. Here, if you could even call it a ball joint. But these, you would just camber with blocks. So you can have basically presets, and you could just slide in different blocks for different camber. And then the rear here allows for caster. And by the measurements they give, every 0.3 inches is another degree of caster. So I measured this. This is about an inch distance between these two. And them fully bottomed out would be stock caster. So right now I should have at least 11 degrees of caster going back in the car, which is a lot. Stock, these cars come with 8. I was running about 9 just now because I added a degree just to feel it out. But just from other track guys, I've heard that maxing out the caster, if you can, is the best thing to do. So went ahead and did that. So go ahead and throw it back together now. Put it on the ground. I guess drive it around. I'll check the toe and everything, make sure it's still aligned, and then car should be done for today. And I'm pretty excited to drive it at the track and just feel it out overall with the new tires, new alignment, and fresh fluid and all that. Yeah.
But you don't have a ball joint anymore?
It's the control arm, my boy.
I know.
These upper inner bolts for the control arm is going to be 44 foot-pounds. We'll go ahead and torque those down. And then for this, on the factory bolts, it's going to be 43 foot-pounds because it's an SPL part. I'll go ahead and do 50. I'll do like 52, and then because these also don't have a Carter print, so I'll do 52 and then paint mark it and make sure it's solid. And I'll just keep an eye on it for a little bit. But I tightened it before and it never had any problems, so I'm sure it'll be all right. Alright, and like I mentioned, for these upper ball joints, I like to do this with all my suspension stuff, is just mark them with a paint marker, just draw a line down the middle of them, that way you see if they moved or not. But these especially, because they don't utilize cotter pins like the OEM parts, I'm just going to go ahead and mark them. You can use any color you want. I've also seen people use whiteout. Whiteout's really smart because it's like paint, but I don't have it right now, so I'll just use the yellow paint marker because the yellow shows up pretty decent. So literally all you do is just draw a line, and this paint isn't coming up for some reason. There we go. Just go ahead and draw a line down it. That way you can take a quick glance and see if anything moved on you. Now that way, whenever you take a quick glance in there, you can actually see if anything's moved. It just makes it a lot easier to kind of just look at it, see if it's moved, instead of actually have to torque it and touch it and mess with it. So now, I don't know how noticeable it is, but there's quite a bit of caster in there, so I'm excited to see how it actually feels driving it. Because like I said, I've added about 2 degrees, and even a 1 degree difference you feel. So yeah, we'll go ahead and see how it goes. I'll get it all torqued down, torque some other things in the front, and then throw this thing on the ground. It should be finished. My boy. Oh my god. So I drove the car and everything's pretty good. The caster feels great. The only thing I don't like is that the negative camber in the front, since I messed with the caster, kind of zeroed out. So I brought up the blocks. I don't know where I put them just now. They're over here. These little blocks right here are designed to adjust camber on the V3 arms, is what I was talking about. They're like a shim. So you literally slot these in behind the slider on there, and then it lets you add camber, and they're always exact. You can't really mess up because you just tighten them to the size of these blocks. And these blocks are pre-calculated to how much camber they actually give you, so it's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and lift up the car and just slide them in real quick. They're not difficult to do. They're real easy, so it shouldn't be difficult. Like I said, just lift it up, take the wheel off. There's two little bolts up there. You just adjust those, and then you undo the long bolts, bang out the old shim, put it in the new shims, and then you're done. So it's real easy, real simple. And I'm just going to knock it out real quick to add a bit more camber. I was running -3 before. Seemed to work out pretty well, but now I'm also adding more casters, so I have more camber mid-turn. So we'll kind of add a block just a size smaller, lower it down, take a look at it. If it looks about -3 or looks like it matches the rear kinda, then we'll just run it from there. Alright, right up here is the adjustment I was talking about. For the little locking pins, or locking bolts, it's going to be a 10 mil. You're just going to go ahead and loosen that nut real quick. Mine loosens really easy. That one doesn't, so we'll go ahead and throw it and loosen that shit up. And then for the actual sliders, it's a 14. I don't know why I'm saying this, because if you guys have these arms, you probably know how to adjust them. But little 14 to adjust these sliders. Now, hopefully this moves a little bit. There you go, slides right up. This block comes out. This should be a ½ degree less camber than stock. And then per SPL's instructions, I went ahead and got the one that's half the size of it. This one should be able to give me a little bit more camber. I already installed it on the other side. It looks pretty right. So this literally slots into the top, just right up there. And then you just tighten down the bolts. And it'll actually pull the knuckle in. If you take a detailed look at it, you'll see. Now the whole knuckle has been pulled in and camber is adjusted. I like these a lot because these bolts probably alone are just enough to keep it there, but they still have the little locking bolts to actually hold it in place for sure, which is really cool. Go ahead and stick that Allen key in there and then just
Why? See what they're trying to have us do, man.
Now you can see the camber on the front end. It's just a little bit. It's really not too much, but it is just enough. It's exactly what I wanted on the car. So yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm gonna drive it, hopefully have a bit of fun with it. I'm sure I will. I'm liking the setup with the tires so far. They feel great. The brakes feel great. Pretty much the whole car feels really solid. It sounds good now that there's not an exhaust leak. And then now it has brand new gear oil and oil in it. So it's handling pretty good. And yeah, I just wanna make a video kind of updating the car and just showing kind of my process, working on it, I guess. Just like I said, I wanna log what I'm doing. That way it's all set and it's all, you can just, videos you can follow, see what I'm doing to the car.